Welcome to Running is Bullshit. I'm Stuart.
And I'm Amy, and you're listening to the podcast that loves to hate running. This is episode 137, and this time we're discussing multifunctional neck tubes, people who definitely aren't injured, another stupid-sounding medical condition, Polish hammer-wielding maniacs, and a tale from the recent race to the Stones.
First up, Amy, I want to say coasters. You know how a lot of races do coasters now instead of medals? Mm-hmm. Are coasters the new medals, but in a bad way? Like, I have now got too many coasters.
It's becoming that way because initially I liked coasters as medals because I thought, oh, I've got too many medals.
Oh, I've got a couple of coasters. That's nice.
Yeah, I was doing some tidying the other day and I found a box of my old medals and they'd all sort of gone a bit... You know when like metal stuff goes a bit green, like cheap metal?
Yeah.
Goes like, yeah, they'd all gone a bit tarnished and green and odd. And I was looking at them thinking, why am I holding on to these? Like, what am I holding on to these for? You know? Like, you can see, yeah. I've got like a picture. I keep my race numbers. I think race numbers are quite cool. So I've put them in a frame and I think that's quite cool because you can sort of, they're flat. They look pretty cool in like a frame or something. You can look back and think, oh yeah, I remember that. But medals, I know some people hang them up, but when you've done lots of races, they just become a bit much. So yeah, coasters, I thought, oh, brilliant. And I've got a couple of coasters. I've got a coaster in here from the Rada half marathon, which, to be honest, is exactly the size of a cup, which is difficult then because you want it to be slightly bigger than a cup, I will say that. And I've got I've got two at the moment. But yeah, I can imagine people are getting like beyond full sets of coasters at this point.
Yeah, I've got... I got a few coasters. I was like, oh, that's nice. I've got a few coasters now. And now I've got like 6 or 7. And it's like, well, I want to use them because they're actually practical things. Not like a medal you can hang up and not do anything with. But these are like practical things I want to use. But I don't actually have any use for them. I only have the use for like 2 coasters. Mm-hmm. So now I have too many coasters. Mm. And I don't know what the next thing is going to be.
It's like how do they spend that not how do they spend that money because some races don't do anything, but like what would be a memento from a race? I think like I kind of like the coasters at the moment because I haven't got too many buffs. I do like a good buff, but again, if you had buffs for everything, there would be too many buffs. It'd be the whole t-shirt.
Very careful using the B word. We'll come to that later on.
Sorry. Multifunctional neck tube. If you have too many neck tubes, if you have too many strips of fabric that can go around your neck, around your head, around anywhere else, that just becomes like the whole t-shirt situation. So yeah, I'm not sure. Like maybe more race photographers so you get more free photos at the end. That, you know, especially those like city marathons where you have to, and road races where you have to pay for photos. Instead, maybe those photos are free and you get that instead of a medal. I don't know.
If anyone else has like gone beyond medal, coaster, whatever the next thing is, because I think that seems to be quite common at the moment, coaster taking off a medal. If anyone is kind of looking at the horizon, seeing what the next thing is, let us know. We want to be ahead of that. Let's get ahead of that curve. See what the next thing we can get is that's actually quite annoying. Like, it's nice at first, but after a year or so, it actually starts to get a little bit annoying.
Yeah, definitely. Because there will be something else. I'm imagining like a little plant, like a little tree that you take home and plant or something. That could be something.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Trees, not teas, but literally, here's a tree.
Yeah, like a little plant that you can put in your garden or a succulent, and you see that at a race and you're like, oh, that's such a good idea. What a change. And then suddenly every race has got a little plant that you put in your garden.
Yeah, and then you feel guilty for getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Awful. Oh God, what a world. I love races now. Just cheap races. They don't give you anything, or the option to not have a t-shirt. Always tick that. Love not having t-shirts now.
Yeah, and I am a big fan of just having free photos at the end. Like even if I'm not going to post them anywhere, I can just save them and just remember that I did that thing and I was there. But otherwise, like I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered about a medal. To be honest, I just want to do it.
Yeah, we're too old and cynical for that kind of thing. Let's catch up on the last episode. Andy Jackson said, laughed so much at the poo story I nearly fell over. Certainly got some odd looks from those around me. Yeah, didn't say where he was.
What was the poo story again?
That would be the constipation holiday story, I imagine. So maybe it's the lack of poo story, which actually, to be fair, did erupt.
Yeah, because I when I read that in the show notes, I was like, what was the poo story? And then, do you remember that story from a listener? And if you don't remember, then this is obviously a crazy dream I've had. But who was it who got on all fours to have a poo? Who was out running, needed to have a wild poo, and then got on all fours? Or like a crab? Or was it like a crab?
I've no idea.
Oh, please. Just please somebody tell me that they remember this story where somebody needed a poo. I'm pretty sure they were travelling as well. They were on holiday. They needed to go for a poo. And they either got on all fours or like in a crab position to do a wild poo.
Okay, I've been looking through the notes. Episode 98. So good memory there. It was Paul Wilshire out in the dark just doing a crab. Having a poo that way for some reason. So that's a great little flashback for us.
It's ingrained in my mind now forever. Like it's carved in there. Oh,
wow.
Yeah, thanks for that. Anyway, sorry, a bird's just flown into the window. I think it's okay.
That's fine.
It's fine. Elliot Line has also been in touch about holiday running BS. And he said, holiday running was BS for me recently when on the third day I badly sprained my ankle and was off my feet for the rest of the week. And sent us a picture of, what looks like a very sprained ankle, looks very swollen and very sore. That sucks.
Lovely bruised ankle. It's got the classic bruising around and swelling around the ankle bone itself. And that little line you get just above kind of the sole of your foot, which really bruises as well for some reason. Excellent. Good work. Textbook stuff. Matt Garnett said he got to about 39 minutes in on the last episode and just learned the A in LGBTQIA+ actually stands for Amy.
Yes.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's for my work.
It's just for you.
In the community. Just, they just need to acknowledge me, just me,
Yeah.
and all I've done through this podcast, through my other ventures outside of this podcast.
All the advocacy, all the...
Yeah.
the highlighting of issues that you've done.
Yeah, Amy the advocate.
It's good.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. Well
Thanks.
Ooh.
We've partnered with Bird and Blend Tea, which means we'll tell you what tea we're drinking. And if you like the sound of that, you can go to runningsbs.com/tea. Click on the links and buy tea if you would like to. Stuart, what are you drinking?
I've gone for something very different. Because it's the middle of July, and if this was a normal year, this would be peak summer. So what I've done is gone for mulled cider, because this is not a normal summer. And so what I've done, I've got some of the mulled cider sticky chai from Bird and Blend. I've put it in some hot apple juice.
Oh my God.
And I've been drinking that. Well, I've been drinking it for ages, because Amy's 45 minutes late to this, so it's cold now.
Okay, hold on.
Amazing.
I messaged you at like 11:30 and said, I'm ready when you
Yeah, but I didn't look at my phone, so
Yeah.
whatever. So there's my tip. The mulled cider sticky chai. I imagine it would probably work with some of the other chais as well. Get them in some apple juice or something like that. And mulled cider in the middle of July. Why not?
That sounds very good. Keeping with that theme.
So good.
Keeping with that theme, I have sticky chai today. I don't know whether I was drinking that last time as well, but I've got sticky chai. So it's sort of again, like a Christmassy almost, autumnal maybe.
I just like opening the jar and having a little smell every now and then.
Yeah. And getting getting the spoon in and getting the sticky chai out.
Oh,
Love that. But yeah, it smells really nice. I think it's I've no idea what flavour I've got, but it's nice.
It's just kind of spicy and sweet and nice.
It's spicy and sweet and nice. Oh, I'm trying to think now. My brain's a bit blank, but it's got like an orange label on it. There we go.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that one. That's Amy's recommendation of the week, is the orange label one.
Yeah.
What else have you been up to this week?
Not much. Well, last week I had a deload week, which is like a thing you do when you're actually training for something.
So this is okay. So this is the new excuse, is it?
Yeah, it's deload.
Amy's
week.
on a deload week. Amy hasn't done shit this week.
Yeah. No, I did. It was nice because rather than so I had like I was supposed to do a race, which Stuart did do, and he'll talk about in a minute. But I was having like major like PMDD stuff, and usually like sort of cancel and then feel really shit about cancelling and like, I can't do this, why can't I do anything, why do I always feel so shit, blah 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 blah. But because I've now got a coach who's not only a coach but also like kind of my therapist as well. I left this voice note like on the day because I've been feeling unwell the day before, like really so this month, because every month is something different with PMDD, this month it was like really intense fatigue but also like really bad dizziness as well, so really quite dizzy and nauseous. And this race was a rabbit run. It was in the evening, so I went out to walk the dogs. I thought, I'll be okay. The day before I felt bad, but I thought, maybe I'll be okay. I went out to walk the dogs. I felt absolutely atrocious. I just thought, how the hell am I going to run 7 miles feeling like this? And then also, it was supposed to piss it down with rain. I thought, this is going to be absolutely miserable. So I was like out on the walk with the dogs. I was like leaving Gemma, my coach, and our previous guest a few weeks ago. I was leaving her like a voice note on WhatsApp because part of her coaching is that she's like sort of available to chat on WhatsApp every day apart from Monday, really. It's like, 6 days a week. So I left her this voice note. I'm like, Gemma, I feel really bad and I don't want to do this race, but I feel like I should have to do this race. But I feel really bad and I feel like I'm really flaky and I'm always cancelling things. This is like mental breakdown over WhatsApp. And she messaged back and she's very straight talking. She's like, Amy, I do not want you to do that race. I have taken it off your plan. You are having a deload week. So that was quite nice because my flakiness became like an actual strategy. She's like, I don't want you to do that race. There's no point you doing that race. We're not training for that. So didn't do the race, took all weekend and just chilled out, didn't push myself because I was on WhatsApp being like, well, I could go for a 90-minute run tomorrow on Sunday. And she's like, I don't want you to run. I just want you to just chill, like just chill out. And then the next week we had I think it was next week, we had like a bit, or maybe it was the week before. Either way, there was like a nice deload week where I was just doing just a bit like 30-minute runs rather than not going out at all because I would have been putting all this pressure on myself to go out and run 6 miles or whatever it might be. But instead, because I knew it was just 30 minutes, it was quite nice because I could just go out and just do a bit. And then I was thinking as well about it, and I was thinking, you know what, doing it in this way is quite structured because obviously with my PMDD it's roughly like every 3 weeks. The 4th week is when I'm feeling shit usually, but actually that works quite well as like a bit of a training cycle of like 3 weeks of volume effort and then a 4th week where you're sort of doing reduced efforts, like your body recover a bit more. So it actually works out quite well in that way, which I think
that's what I was thinking there. If it's kind of reasonably predictable, at least you can kind of factor that in and actually plan for it, which I guess you probably just haven't really done before.
No, usually it is really predictable. Like I'm, in terms of like how my like hormone cycle works with my PMDD and everything, luckily the saving grace is that it's super predictable. Like every 4th week, is when I feel shit in some way or another. But yeah, before I just get to that 4th week and be like, why can't I do this? Why am I so like really like bring myself down?
And then try and force it. And
try and force it.
And then I take the piss for you doing fuck all.
Yeah,
and
then I cry myself to sleep at night. Like, why does everyone hate me? Why can't I do anything? No, but now it actually feels like, okay, this is actually beneficial. This is going to be beneficial to my training. So rather than something that's going to hold me back, which is often how I framed it in my head, like this is something that's hindering me, this is actually going to be something that's really going to help me. It's really going to help me progress, but also it's probably going to help me not get injured and things like that when I'm ramping up the volume a bit later on. So that's the update. I had a deload week, back on it this week, feeling so much better just because partly because of that rest, partly because I didn't push myself because obviously there's something going on. I was making sure I was taking all my supplements and stuff because I was obviously like quite deficient in various things and just from my body being under all that stress. So that's been my last couple of weeks. It's been good. I feel like an athlete training.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great that you had to miss that and you had a shitty week, but you've got something out of it now, and it's something you can plan around a bit more. Yeah, exactly. Use it as a rest week.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, how's your week been?
No rest weeks for me because it's summer, and summer is like midweek weird race season, and I absolutely love it. I was on the track again the other week. I did 800 and 1500. I finished second in both of them out of 3. The guy who finished third in both of those was in his 60s and basically wasn't racing the rest of us. He was just doing his own thing. He was just trying to meet the Masters standard to win a medal for his age group. Because in like Masters events, I think for him it was like 800 meters had to be done in under 2 minutes 50, because otherwise you could have a race, a guy could turn up in his 60s, walk around it in 8 minutes and say, there you go, gold medal for 800 meters please. So they introduce kind of most things now, they introduce a master's standard that you have to reach a certain standard in order to win a medal. And he did that on both of those. That was really good. But it took me 700 meters to overtake him in the 800, so that was not good. I was chasing him the whole way, just like, shit, I'm going to finish third. I don't want to finish third. But yeah, that was really good fun. Like the 2 guys I took with me and like forced to do this event won the events ahead of me, each of them. So that was not good. Oh, really good thing is I got to measure the triple jump which is like, that was a very exciting thing. I got to be, well, not measuring, I wasn't on the line. I got to be the guy who had the spike and put it in the pit where the person had landed. And like, that is responsibility.
That's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of responsibility. I mean, it's not the raking. The raking is obviously like the OG. That's the proper real job there. But putting the spike in the sand, making a judgment of exactly where they landed, I really quite enjoyed that bit. I absolutely do not want to do any more like official qualification, but I feel I'm basically qualified for most things now.
Yeah.
I also got horribly sunburned. That was like the one hot day we had. Forgot I was wearing a vest for most of the day and just got like horribly sunburned shoulders, which are now starting to peel nicely. I did also enjoy that because once I'd done my 2 races, I ran PBs in both of them. And then I got cheesy chips and a pina colada from the bar at the track.
Pina colada?
Oh, yes.
Cheesy chips, okay. And a pina colada?
Yeah, that was like full Spanish holiday for me.
Yeah.
I think it was just like a mix out of a carton with a bit of rum in it. But I'm like, I saw it on the board there. I'm like, yeah, I'm absolutely having one of those.
Nice.
That was very exciting. So I enjoyed that part of it. 2 days later, after getting that sunburn, I rubbed my nipples raw in the rain at the Rabbit Run, which is the race that you should have done, hopefully next year. First on the calendar for next year, because it's always mid-month. So if you're doing the Slam again next year, mid-month, it's a really good one to do. That is a 7-mile trail race, one of my absolute favourites. It's, as everyone has been saying this week, talking about it, it's just got everything. It's got sand, mud, hills, grass, bit of tarmac, 2 river crossings, and down absolutely massive sand dune. I love racing it because it's not too difficult. It's got all that terrain, but the hills aren't too nasty, so it's a really good one. If you like racing and running hard, you can do it on that. I think I've done it 4 times now, and I've got quicker each time, so I'm really happy with that. I was on the start line, still not sure whether to actually kind of race it or not. I couldn't quite decide. And literally, as I was crossing the line, I thought to myself, well, they've expanded the field this year. I think they put it up from 600 to 1,100 people. So there's a lot of people here. A lot of them are quite inexperienced trail runners. It's been raining a lot, which means people are going to go slowly, which means this is going to look really good on Run Britain. And that is something that will only appeal to a very small amount of our listeners, I know. But basically, Run Britain just gives you like a handicap score. If everyone else runs badly and I run well, it thinks I'm a fucking amazing. So it affects my handicap in a good way. And that is the thing that inspired me to run fast. Not times, not positions, not beating people in my club. An arbitrary number on a website that not many people know about. That was the thing that gave me the inspiration that day. And I absolutely loved it. It's a great race.
Nice.
Oh, and after that, there were beer miles and cider miles and Prosecco miles, which apparently were in fancy dress as well. So the best thing about this was it was also the Rabbit Run was also the South Wales Trail Championship race. And a couple of people from my club won medals. In the women, they were first and third. And as they're on the podium being given their medals, they're basically being interrupted by those kind of guy giving out the medals. And then a guy in a Tinky Winky costume would run past. And then and congratulations, third. Oh, hang on. And a caveman would run past. It was just the stupidest thing. It's like, here's this amazing honour for you, but hang on a minute. There's just a guy in a Donald Trump costume running past who's had 3 beers and doesn't quite know what's going on. So that was a lot of fun. Really great race. And I also did the other night the Sawbrook Tough or the Sawbrook Slog 10k. I don't know which. They seem to use both. I can't remember the difference. 10k, country lanes, open roads, quite a lot of hills.
Where is that? Where's Sawbrook?
That's Cumbrahan, basically.
Oh, nice.
Just starts outside the crematorium.
Lovely.
It's a nice place to go. First 10k I've done in years and years and years that I haven't raced, because basically I don't really do 10ks that aren't flat or they're not nice. So you get like little town 10ks that are a bit hilly and bumpy, which means they're not a PB course. So I think I don't really see the point. I think I looked, of all the 10ks I've done, like 80% of them I did in the space of about 2 years, 10 years ago. And then I kind of just went off and did other things. So yeah, this one I took it as like a running session. So I did it at about maybe 95%. So worked hard up the hills, took it fairly easy down the hills and on the flats, and just kind of made it into like a proper running session rather than a full-on race. And I actually really enjoyed that. I don't do that at all very often. And it was, again, one of those great races. It was £10. I got a half-price drinks token back at the bar, and I got as much cake as I could eat afterwards.
Nice.
And that is, no T-shirts, no medals, no messing around. So that was really good. I absolutely enjoyed that. Finished that race, back to the bar, cake and cider for dinner. which I really liked. And there was the only thing about this race, there was just loads of first aid, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but I just started to notice it. And I guess it was just because it's an open road race, so that's their mitigation, I suppose, of having like 3 points of first aid. But on a 10k, it felt like a lot. Every time I went around another corner, I'm like, is there just more first aid people there?
It's like in comparison to when you do an ultra, and you know you're doing an ultra, it's usually like on terrain that you could easily hurt yourself quite badly on, and then like 25 miles in, you'd sometimes see an ambulance just parked up the side of the road, like, oh
yeah, or a fill race where it's just like, if you fall over, give us a call. If you haven't got a signal, you're just gonna have to get down the hill. Tough shit. I think I just noticed it more just because of, there's people in my club recently who start saying they want to do races, they want to put on races, so I send them the document. It has something like 48 checkpoints that you have to fulfill to put on a proper licensed race. And so I guess this was just, as I said, their mitigation of, it was an open road race. They couldn't close the roads. It's country lanes. So they put on extra first aid just to kind of make up for it if there are any accidents, which I'm pretty sure there weren't. It was a very well-organised, good race on nice, quiet roads. Yeah, as usual, club races in the summer. Absolutely fantastic. Love those.
Nice.
Speaking of things that we love, good news, everyone. The multifunctional neck tubes are back. And yet we are insisting on calling them that because our supplier used the B word on their website and had to pay a fine or go to court.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so after spending about 2 hours pissing about on our website trying to get WooCommerce set up so you could have a normal online shopping experience, it didn't work. So instead, you'll have to email. If you want one, email us runningisbull@gmail.com. Tell me how many you want and your address, and I'll send you a payment link. I'm going to say it's UK only for now because you know when you go to the post office and you have to post something abroad and you need a custom sticker, they say what's in it, and I'm always like, it's just kind of an awkward. It's a clothing, it's a running thing. Is it merch? Is it a podcast? I don't know. So for that reason, almost alone, I'm saying it's UK only.
And also, if they find out there's all that stuff around tax as well, that people might get taxed when they're there, and but they might pay tax for bringing something into the country, and it all gets a bit complicated. It's
too complicated. Like, if you are desperate, email and plead your case, and depends how well you make it, I might make an exception, but I'm saying UK only. Limited edition, they're going to be £9, same as they were before. We got some, I think it's actually been like 3 or 4 years since we got any, so these are very limited.
And they're very nice, I will say.
They're lovely.
They're very nice, because when I've had multifunctional neck tubes at other events, sometimes the material's not great, but these are nice. These are nice quality, I will say.
And only £9, so just email runningisbull@gmail.com. I don't want messages from any other platform, just send them all to email, please, and we'll get some of those sent out to you.
Onto Patreon, so you can support this podcast by going to patreon.com/runningisbullshit and donating money every month if you like. If you don't want to, that's okay, you don't have to, but if you want to, that's fine. And here's everyone that did just that this month. J House J, Steve Robson, Adam Baker, Charlie Levison, Julia Page, Gabriel Thomas Nair, Matt Burrows, Raymond Quinn, Matt Gazowski, Spencer Aldred, Cherie Kinnison, Len Martin, Carl Fleming, Graham Hackland, Victoria Dick, Gail Seal, Rachel Bentley, Karen Blake, Tony Boyle, Shambolic Adult, Brian Simpson. Paul Hibbert Leewood, Catherine Fenton, Clark Gilmore, Stuart Stevens, Claire Dina, Tom Alcock, Elliot Line, Kat Abigail Hardman, Alice Newstead, Cheryl Currans, Lisa Gibbon, Jayton Nesby, Sophie Nichols, Tony House, Jonathan Carter, Matt Garner, Matt Age, Nikki Jones, Maria Wicks, Matt Catherine, Taryn Milligan, Ivor Hewitt, Kaplan, Neil Denton, Matt Newbury, Debbie Hurley, Victoria Cousins, Daniel Braun, Gregory C, Jason Spink, Sandra Hines, Angela Foster Swales, Matt Jones, Larry Warren, David Owen, Rich Scamp, Nons Dawson, Catherine Brown, Andy Robin, Aaron Shaw, Bernadette McCarthy, Dewi HP, Ian Hales, Bill B, Andy Murray, Hind, Victoria Magnus, Anthony Howe, Cap Everett, Andrea Loren, David Yellowmack, Tito, Andy Nichols, Vicky Robbins, Ruth Perkins, Penny Simpson, Matt Josie, Sherry Grubbs, Matt Lees, Nikki Genders, Kel Ryder, Dawn Shepherd, Sophie Jacks, HP, Ian Hales, Ian Thompson, Claire Davis, Mark Willis, Kiara Evans, Elizabeth Reese, Karen Hamilton, Elizabeth Shaban, Rachel Bullmore, Drew Edwards, Francis Howe. Don't forget to get in touch with your running bullshit on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Just search Running is BS and let us know why you particularly hate running this week. Let's kick off with the injury list and start with the in denial subsection of that list, the best subsection. So we have Chris Whitmore, who is apparently not injured, but was injured and got fat and slow. That's their words, not mine. And wish they were still injured because at least it gave them an excuse. Oh, it's kind of sad.
Dr. VXD should be on the injury bench, but says 1, I'm an idiot. 2, a run streak is a run streak. 3, I'm still an idiot. All 3 of those reasons are exactly the same to me.
Mate, just say no to run streaks. Just say no to run streaks.
Not even once.
No.
Friends don't let friends run streak.
No. At Yellow Mag says, not exactly injured, had an operation 2 weeks ago, so being as sensible as I can manage. Reckon I can run after 3 weeks without danger of wounds bursting. When you say reckon, is that you reckon or your doctor reckons? Because it should be
just like,
the latter.
3 weeks.
He also said, had to rejig the training schedule with 20% distance increases instead of 10% to make 50k ultra mid-September. What could go wrong? I'll tell you what could go wrong. Your wounds could burst, whatever the fuck that means. It sounds horrific.
Burst isn't a good word, is it, generally? Yeah, the 10% increase thing, it's a rule of thumb. It's not...
Yeah, it'd be fine.
People have got different sized thumbs. That's fine.
The
20%.
wounds burst, the wounds burst. Say lovey.
On to some more of the proper injuries, and our FKT friend Michael Dark snapped the plate in his shoe. He kept running on it anyway and has got fat pad syndrome. Amy's just got a blank face on me there. Amazing. I looked this up. It's a condition that usually happens in the centre of your heel and is most often due to thinning and degeneration of the fat pad. Who knew we had a fat pad on our heel? And if it breaks, it's called fat pad syndrome and not like thin pad syndrome.
No.
So fat pad syndrome is when your fat pad gets thin.
That just sounds... Yeah, I don't like the sound of that. Do you know
Anything in the heel sounds quite bad, doesn't it? Because it's just like a big solid lump.
Yeah.
And anything in there that hurts is going to hurt just everywhere.
If you fucked that bit up, then you've really fucked something up, haven't you? Because I feel like it's meant to be quite robust, but apparently not. The mysteriously named Ultraman is on the list after the Run, Walk, Crawl Dragon 100. He says he has no skin left on the soles of his feet and invites us to take the piss as much as we want. What is, like, okay... I need to say, when we started this injury list, I was expecting people to be like, oh, I've got shin splints. Or, I didn't expect skin falling off and wounds bursting.
No, this is pretty standard. It's what I was expecting.
I don't like this. I don't like it.
Very happy. We take the piss. Okay, you've got no skin on your feet, you bell end.
You're soulless.
Oh, God. Our vegan trail runner seems to have got extensor tendonitis from doing up his shoes differently. It hurt after 2 miles, but instead of stopping and adjusting, just carried on for another 10, and then kept running for a week with toe pain, and now he's had to stop for a week, and quite rightly, calls himself a twat.
That sounds like something
Just
I would do.
doing your shoes up differently.
I feel like
God.
sometimes I'm running and my shoes really hurt, and I think, you know what I need to do? I need to stop. I need to sit on the ground, take my shoes off properly, sort out my laces, and all of that will probably take me about 5 minutes max, and then I can enjoy the rest of my run. But no, I won't.
No.
It's too easy.
Shit way to get injured.
Yeah. At Paul_Frick twisted his ankle on a holiday of multiple mountain runs through boulder fields. But don't worry, he's sure a 50k next will sort it out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all you need, just a recovery 50k to go over that, no problem.
Nice and easy.
Nicola Forward says, not on the injury list, but what the hell with kids finishing school for the summer? My injury is called parenting, and it started before term finished with all the leavers plays and kids parties and sports days, etc, etc. Now, parenting as an injury feels like the kind of joke that I would have come up with and then thought about for a bit and decided to not say out loud because I thought that's going to get me in trouble. So I'm really glad that Nicola has done it for me. Yep. Yes, parenting is absolutely an injury.
Yes, definitely, Jesus. And finally, after we triumphantly gave the news about my mum getting into Couch to 5k 5 months ago, turns out she has still got plantar fasciitis and hasn't run since.
That would be the lack of updates then.
Yep. She's been She's been seeing a physio a lot, and at first I thought it was about the plantar. Fucking hell, I can never say that properly. She's been seeing a physio a lot, and at first it was just like about the plantar fasciitis, but now she's been seeing him for like her something. He's like a what is it?
Are they dating now? Is what you're saying?
No, she's married.
Wow.
No, he's
a very modern woman.
I can't think of the word. Like he's when you get dizzy, like he's a specialist in what makes you dizzy.
In dizziness.
Like if you have issues with dizziness. So he does like this whole test on dizziness and stuff, and so now she's getting to that. She just needs to focus on the plantar fasciitis and sorting that out, I think. But
so he's someone that deals with feet and being dizzy.
Yes. Well, apparently, your feet, your ears, your eyes, they're all connected.
Well, yeah, they are. Yeah, they're connected because they're all on your body.
But they're all connected to dizziness and stability and, all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Some more of our, I was going to say more standard messages, but they never are that standard, are they? Agatha Whiteman says, I live in rural Poland, so I've had to get used to dogs running loose. I have most of them sussed out by now and know which ones to avoid and which ones are fine. On today's run, I felt extra safe, thanks to this handy hammer I found en route. And there's a nice picture of her just holding a hammer. There's a lovely dog in the background, but she says it's not one of the strays, it's her very own dog Digby, which is an excellent name for a dog. Aww. So I'm just waiting for the next week for an email about avoiding mad women running around Poland with hammers. What is it with women in Poland running around with hammers all the time?
When I first read this, I didn't see the bit about the dog being her dog, so I imagined this was a stray dog she managed to tame through threatening it with a hammer, and it was like, oh, okay. There's
the very cute Labrador just sitting there with its tongue out, and she's just like wielding this hammer as if to say, yep, I'm about to smash this dog's head in. Please don't do that.
What it looks like. We've had an anonymous email as well. Which usually means we're going to get some juicy goss when we get an anonymous email. And it says, my wife and I recently attempted the race to the stones for the second time. It didn't go well, particularly for her. Oh. She shuns publicity, so let's call her Wilma. Her training had gone unexpectedly smoothly, accumulating in a heroic 28 miles up and down the Great Glen Way, and she was feeling uncharacteristically chipper when we crossed the start line. I was less optimistic, having cricked my back getting off a stupidly low hotel sofa several weeks previously, losing training and still feeling the after effects.
Like getting off a sofa.
We've all done it.
That is another shit injury.
Yeah. That they're the worst sort of back injuries when you're just getting out of bed or off a sofa, or you just wake up, you just slept funny. They're like the most horrific back injuries doing stuff like that. Okay, they go on. I left Wilma behind at the first kilometre, at her insistence, because our paces were incompatible. But I texted my progress at pit stop 1. At the next one, I picked up a text which informed me she was at pit stop 1 and feeling good. I checked again at pit stop 3 to discover that she was now at base camp, that's pit stop 4, having been medically retired from the race and transported to the halfway point. Tree roots were to blame. She tripped on one and banged her knee. Then, a little further on, hit another and gone down hard. Mostly female runners came to her aid, she said. Mostly male ones leapt over her stricken body. That's horrific. So much for the wonderful running community.
Race is a race.
Yeah. God. She ran/walked 3K to pit stop 2 when medics cleaned her up but advised strongly against continuing alone in case of delayed concussion. She was waiting for me at base camp, the 50k point, sporting a cut brow and a boxer's black eye, and remarkably cheerful considering months of training had ended after 21k. She also described 3 guys she'd encountered earlier on. She didn't know their language, but it was clear that they were discussing the physical attributes of every female runner who passed them, the creeps. I pulled out there. I could have claimed it was solidarity with a bruised and battered Wilma, but the truth was I'd messed up hydration and nutrition and didn't have the energy or inclination to go further. At least I got the 50k medal. So there you are, further evidence that men are bullshit. As for Race to the Stones, we'll give it a miss next year. Oh, God.
Yeah. Where do you want to start with that?
It's in, like... yeah. Just... I don't even know where to start with that. It's
interesting. She says, like, I don't know the language of these men, but it's clear they were talking about the women. And it's like, I feel like I can imagine exactly what that tone was.
Yeah, but also you just sort of pick up, especially when you're a woman, you just pick up on body language about what somebody might be talking about and what they're looking, how they're looking, and all those sorts of things. It's just like, just all of it, just the whole. She obviously, because the thing is, she didn't just fall. She falled and had a black eye and a cut brow, like a cut to her head. Like, that's pretty serious. That's more than if you stumble in a race and people just sort of push by you or whatever. That's kind of a dick move, not to stop and say you're okay. But they might sort of assume that you are okay and you've just stumbled or whatever. But if you've like properly fallen to the point where you've bashed your head and people are just walking over you, like, that's messed up. That's really messed up.
When you're somewhere in the mid, backpack, it's not as if you're going to go and win it. You're not going for a specific time, that badly.
But also, it's like
surely it's more important to help someone.
Yeah, but also it's like an ultra. Like, even if you were near the front, you'd make that time up. Just stop and ask if they're okay or whatever. Like, I don't understand, because even if I was winning, I don't think I'd be able to look at myself in the mirror knowing that I just sort of left somebody laying on the floor. Do you know?
Unless if you're right next to a marshal point or something like that, or you see someone else has rushed over to help, you could be well, I think they're okay, but...
Yeah, exactly. If somebody else taking
Come on, it's not the ultra spirit, is it?
No, it's like so bizarre. And then, so she's had that, and then she's had those men like talking about other runners, and I just think, Jesus, it's really depressing, isn't it? And I think the thing is about Race to the Stones, I know like quite a few people have done it, and you know what? I saw all the stories when it was going on, and it looked absolutely beautiful. Like, it looked like a really amazing race, but it's massively, massively popular. It's probably one of the most well-known ultras in the UK. I would argue it's quite accessible, because I think it's it's not as, I don't want to say it's not very challenging. It is challenging. It's a fucking ultra.
It's an easy one,
but it's easier than some of the ultras. It's a good
Yes.
So I think it just attracts a lot of people, and the more people you get, the more likely you are to encounter arseholes. And I think that's sometimes the issue with these sorts of races. You're just much more likely to encounter these arseholes because there's just so many more people. I saw a few stories from people who ran it saying, I saw somebody who ran the 100k all in one go, and she was saying the first 50k was actually really stressful because there were so many people. It felt quite claustrophobic, and then once she got beyond the 50k mark, the sort of halfway point, and she was carrying on where others either stopped, camped, whatever, she said she had a much better race in a way because it was just so busy. And so I think you're more likely to encounter negative things then, and those negative things stand out because they're really shitty.
Yeah, I know a few people that were there this year as well. I haven't heard any bad stories like that. I've just heard stories of them just being absolutely fucking knackered, which is what you would expect from a race like that.
Yeah, well, I think if you've fallen over and injured yourself and stuff, you're probably more likely to notice those things then, aren't you? Because you're not as tunnel visioned about things. But
Yeah.
but yeah, that's shit.
So your ultramate, Dairy from the Pigham did the 100k, but he did it over 2 days, and he was absolutely convinced on day 2 there's no way he's going to the start line, but then just kind of zombie walked his way through the whole second day.
That was awesome, because he was convinced at the end of the 50k day, because he messaged me, I think he messaged me, or maybe put in his story, I can't remember, but he was saying, like, I want to just stop here, like, because obviously you can still get a medal after 50k, and that's still a huge achievement.
That's quite nice. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, and it's still a really good achievement. You've done an ultra marathon, fantastic. You've had a great day. If it was me, I'd probably be like, yeah, I've had a good day. I'm done now. But he camped. Firstly, you've got to camp, haven't you? Which is shit. So he's camped overnight. He probably didn't get any sleep, because camping's shit, isn't it? And then he got up in the morning. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna." I think he like walked a lot of it, because he was just he was knackered.
Just see what happens.
And and he did it. That was insane. Like that was nuts. Fair play to him. That was like must have been a proper death march at the end. I would have been crying the whole way. Maybe he was. We don't know. I'll have to ask him.
I think he was. Yeah, from what I've heard. Yeah, I don't think I would have been up for that. Doesn't sound fun to me.
No, but he did it. And 100k, that's a really, like, a massive achievement to 100k.
Yeah, big deal.
Big deal. Right. It's the bullshit. It's the bullshit. It's the bullshit. It's the bullshit. It's the bullshit running news.
First up this time, a couple of big trail race organisers have announced closure in the past month. It's a story from the Running Channel. Keep Running Rural, who organise runs in Dorset and Wiltshire, explained on their website they've had a hard time since the pandemic and things never bounced back to where they were. There's also Trail Events Company, who put on races all around Britain, including Snowdon, Lulworth Cove, the Lake District, have also folded because of financial difficulties, and they are seeking interested parties to consider taking over the events or the company itself. Some of the likely causes, apparently overcrowded market with the increased popularity of trail running and the cost of living crisis, meaning people need to be selective about the races they do. I'm familiar with Trail Events Company. I don't think I ever actually got to do one of their races. I kind of meant to, because they do a few in South Wales. And from what I've seen, they are a little bit of that company I've talked about before. They kind of pop up, as it says here, like North Wales, Lulworth Cove, Lake District. You know, they jump around all over the country. But from what I've seen of their events, they do seem to be very well-run events. Like I remember my girlfriend Holly went to do one, and I think it was one of the first times I've seen it at a big event like that. When she get to a number, they said, right, over there, kit check, right, show me your bag. And she actually had to take stuff out of her bag to prove she had everything. Yeah. And I hadn't really seen that before. You still don't see it that often. I think they, literally said, like, right, what have you got to eat? So she said, this is my food. Here's a can of iced coffee I've got with me. And he was like, okay, that's a new one. I've never seen that before. So that was impressive. But just like that little thing did quite impress me, and I always thought their website was very good as well, which always makes a big difference to me, because they put on 4 different distances for each of their events, but it was so easy to see the different distances, maps, elevation and routes, and all of those things was really well laid out. So I kind of hope someone takes on that, because that would be nice.
I'm gutted. Like I did the same event that Holly was at. I just did the shorter distance, and they had Canny Cross options as well, which is always really good. But yeah, they were just really, really well organised, really well marked. And also, they actually, I'm not sure about all their events, but at least the event I went to, they liaised with farmers to make, as far as they could, make sure there was no livestock in the field where possible, which I always think is like a really nice touch, especially with people like me that doesn't like running through lots of fields of cows and things like that. So there were a few fields where the farmers had moved the livestock from that field. And like just little things like that are just really nice, and like I said, really, really well marked, well marshalled. And I love their website as well. And the only thing about them was they were quite expensive, but you got your money's worth. Like they were more expensive than a lot of other trail races, but you did really get your money's worth. It was one of those things where I didn't feel like I was getting ripped off, and I felt like, I'm happy to pay that money, because it was a really good day. It was really well supported. You felt really well looked after. So but I do wonder, a Trail Events Company, whether they were just a bit out of budget for people. If you see other companies that are a lot cheaper, then you just end up paying for those, which is a shame, because I think there's still space in the trail running world for races that are a bit more expensive, but you get that sort of level of service.
And it wasn't like a super high-end luxury kind of thing at all. As you say, it wasn't. You could tell they spent the money well. Yes. It didn't feel extravagant. It didn't feel like sometimes like the event village can be just a bit much, and you can see they've spent too much money. They've tried to make it too big, and that wasn't the case with them. And it also wasn't. Sometimes it's a bit bare bones, and it definitely wasn't that. It was a good balance, and probably the amount it costed, and the amount it cost. The runner was just kind of how much it cost to put on. In fact, they've gone out of business charging that much. Shows it's just a difficult thing to do at the moment.
Yeah, and I will say, when I say it was expensive, I mean that it was probably about £10 more than you'd pay for some other companies. That's it. It wasn't. It wasn't like ridiculously out of reach for loads of people. But I just think like the article's talking about how things are a lot more competitive now in the trail running landscape. I think the price just puts some people off, unfortunately, but it's a real shame because they were really, really good. At least the event I went to was really, really good. I really enjoyed it, and when I've seen other people run their events, they've said the same thing. It's been like a really, really good event. So I think they're that was the other thing, because what I liked about them, because they have at their events usually they have like an 11k or something like that. I did. The one I did was like 7 or 8 miles. That was like the shortest distance. They have a half marathon, a marathon, and then an ultra at a lot of their events. So the cut-off is basically whatever the cut-off is for the ultra marathon. So if you want to go and do a half marathon, a trail half marathon, very hilly, but you think, oh God, this might actually take me quite a while, you can do it, because although there's technically a cut-off, it's bloody like all day. You could take all day. You could walk it if you wanted to, and I really liked that about it, that there was all these other events happening, so the support was there, but also you didn't feel like, so that you did a really slow half marathon on trail, you didn't feel like you were putting the volunteers out, because they had to be out there for the ultra anyway. So I really liked that aspect of it, that they ran several events at the same time. It worked really well, I felt.
Yeah, a bit of a shame, that one. And I think also when people think about prices for races, I don't know, I think in a way we're not good at getting used to the fact that races are going to get more expensive.
Yeah.
Like if a race has been £10 last year, this year it's £12, you're like, oh, well, it's £12 this year. You're like, well, because cost of living has gone up for everyone, including race organisers. Like first aid is incredibly expensive, catering, all the stuff that you still have to pay for, and it all needs to be paid for up front as well. So a lot of that stuff has to be paid for before any ticket money has come in. So it is hard work for race organisers at the moment as well.
Yeah, it's a real shame, and I hope that we don't end up with like a racing landscape where, because obviously there's always going to be a place for those smaller club races and stuff, and fell races and stuff like that, but in terms of these sorts of events, I don't want it to just be companies that are cutting corners, and that's all we have left, because they're the cheap ones, or
UTMB.
Yeah, exactly,
just swooping in and taking everything.
I don't want them all to be like, because there's space for everyone, but I don't want them all to be like bloody like Run Wales or whatever, I don't want them all to be under a massive organisation either. Like, there needs to be a bit of variety, so it's a shame, it's a real shame, but hopefully somebody will buy them out. But I don't know, because obviously there's something about it that isn't sustainable, so there'd have to be changes in some way, but who knows. Yeah, and our second story, so this was quite interesting. So again, from the Running Channel, they've got this really interesting story about the rise of the Strava jockey, as they call it, which is basically runners paying others to run for them. So essentially it's about paying someone to run for you at a set pace, and usually the higher the speed, the higher the cost. They run using your Strava login, and then you can just sit back and watch all the kudos come in.
Oh, totally worth it.
So this is apparently a big thing in Indonesia now. I say a big thing. They say it's a big thing. I don't know how big it is, but it's happening in Indonesia, and may well spread across the globe. If because we've had sort of that whole thing of running races under somebody else's bib and all that sort of thing. I think this is the next thing of running on other people's Strava just to get that kudos in.
Yep.
So the Running Channel's spoke to a few of these jockeys, and one of them said that their services start from 25p per kilometre, and if a client wants him to run, say, 4-minute kilometres, he charges an additional £1.25 per kilometre for up to 10 kilometres. Another jockey also reported earning £4.80 for one job, but did not disclose the pace or distance. And while these numbers might seem quite low, not that impressive, the minimum monthly wage in Indonesia is around £100. So he's clocked up about 5% of the monthly wage in one run. So in the UK, that would be equivalent of earning around £90 for one run, which, yeah,
Sounds a bit more interesting now.
Yeah. And they said that most of these jockeys are teenagers and that their clients are usually older professionals that are too busy to go out for their runs.
People that just want to keep up appearances on Strava.
Yeah.
They want to impress people on Strava. It's definitely going to spread. I can see this being an American thing.
Oh, yes.
Because I know there's a lot of Americans, again, my very limited experience, don't seem to run that many races, but they do lots and lots of runs on Strava, and that's kind of the most important thing.
Yeah.
And again, that weird thing of Americans, they don't give you what time they run, they'll give you the pace they've run.
Yeah.
I find that very strange. And that is exactly what this is. Oh yeah, just did an hour at 4-minute kilometre pace.
God.
Weird.
I mean, good way to make money though, I guess, if you're going out anyway. And
if you want to make money off complete arseholes,
Yeah.
fantastic way to make money.
some good like cash cows there. So yeah, if anyone's looking for a bit of a side hustle and you're a fast runner, and maybe it started out apparently as a joke on Twitter or X now, but then actually people started wanting that service. So
Yeah, I can imagine someone reading through the thread, everyone joking about it, and they're like, "No, but seriously, will someone do this for me, please?"
Yeah. Will someone please log into my Strava and make it look like I've trained? Yeah, that's a good way as well. If you have a DNF, you can be like, "Well, I did train. Look at my Strava."
Yeah, did so much training.
I was doing 100-mile weeks, and I still DNF'd. So you can't blame me.
No.
Anyway, Stuart, what have you got coming up next? How much are you charging per kilometre?
I am definitely doing my own training. No one would fill in that for me. Next week, I've got the Murder Mile, which is a race that I will ask you to do, and I know you will not do.
Oh, no.
It is, frankly, a race of the season. It is a mile uphill. I've talked about it before because I do it every year. Absolutely love this race. Looking forward to that very, very much. And after that, another week later, so in 2 weeks' time, the Paris Marathon at the Olympics. It's the final weekend of the Olympics. I will be there all fucking night. I've just found out my start time is 9:40 p.m. So I kept saying it's going to be 9 p.m, but with the waves, it's 9:40. Gemma Brimbles, who I'll be returning with, she's very kindly offered me a lift from the airport. Her start time, I believe, is 11:20.
No.
Starting a marathon at 11:20. I mean, mate, you're not going to bed. I'm sorry, but that's just...
What the hell?
That's tough. That is really tough. So I reckon I'm going to get to bed at around 4 with, all the picking up the bag, going to the metro, getting back, having some kind of shower.
Is it like
eating I'm going to have to eat something as well. I've just run a fucking marathon. I'm going to need to eat a lot.
Is it a
I'm
loop?
going to get to bed around 4.
Are you like staying near the start and finish, or is it like a...
No, it's a long out and back.
Oh my god!
Not full out and back, but it's the Olympic course, so it's down to Versailles and back.
Oh my god!
There was the information they've sent, actually, this PDF is really, really good. Loads and loads of information in there. But there's some interesting bits of translation in there. I've got a section copied here. It says the downhill sections are tough, with a much greater impact than on the flat or uphill. The descents between the 29th and 32nd kilometres, with gradients of up to 12%, are a real challenge. A well-groomed upper body and strong legs will help absorb the impact and prevent you from collapsing. So there's something else I need to do, is to trim my chest hair before I go on this race to help me absorb that impact.
Oh god! But the thing is, the French are funny, aren't they? Because they could just write that in English in a normal sounding way, but they won't. They will write it in French, then have somebody just translate the French.
Well-groomed upper body. I know what they mean, but I like the phrase. Yeah, apparently actually it says the downhills are going to be tougher than the uphills.
Yeah.
And and about 20 miles in, 12% downhill might be quite hard work, but
you need to be grooming your legs and your upper
Yeah,
body.
I will be.
Make sure you don't collapse.
yeah, I'll be waxing my shoulders and combing all my arm hair to make sure I don't collapse. So, there's going to be a report coming in from that one.
Oh god! Well, I was watching the opening ceremony yesterday, and I just thought it was a complete shit show. I thought it was bizarre.
Yeah,
I thought it was
horrible.
completely
Didn't like it at all.
bizarre. Like I have heard rumours that the whole the planning committee and everything, it's just been a complete mess. Like the whole planning of the Olympics, which of course it would be, wouldn't it? Like of course. And then like the people rehearsing didn't want to rehearse because they were striking about something or other.
Well, in fact, they just couldn't rehearse a lot of it as well.
Yeah. Because I just thought, just put it in a stadium.
Yeah, I feel like the LA 2028 team have watched that and gone, yeah, we're doing that in a stadium.
Oh my god!
So
I'm sure the listeners
Let's get into it. Come on, let's go.
But like, yeah, it was when they started like sending the athletes down the river. I was like, this looks bizarre. This looks bizarre.
No, see, that bit I didn't mind. That was quite nice on the
like
boats. I think for me, the fact is, you could just tell a lot of it was just filler.
Yeah.
Because there was obviously like, right, the next boat's coming, but the next boat's like a minute late because of whatever reason. Right, let's just go back to this catwalk and here's some more dancing.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
No.
There's no symbolism. There's no story. That's the thing, like, a lot of the opening ceremonies, they have a thread or a story throughout. This didn't. This was just like, here are some boats, here's a catwalk, here's the guy painted blue as like a Greek god singing. That was kind of fine because that's a normal weird Olympic opening ceremony thing. But then it was like, here's a guy running across a roof. That's something that we filmed last week. Yeah. Just to fill time. A lot of it was just filling time.
Yeah, it was.
And I didn't really get a lot of it.
And a lot of it wasn't. It just goes to show that France hasn't really contributed much to society in the last century because, like, they had Lady Gaga on, who is like
she was up first. It was like the first
just
big event
American.
was Lady Gaga.
I'm assuming she's American, but like probably because she can speak. I'm assuming she can speak French. Like, okay, then Celine Dion, and Freya's like, well, Celine Dion, is she French? I'm like, she's Canadian. If anything, she's ours. Yeah. She's not French. She's Canadian. Like, they lost Canada a long time ago. Canada's not theirs, it's ours.
And I love the end. On the boat, they had, like, Carl Lewis, Serena Williams, Rafael Nadal, and another woman that a lot of people, like, even Andrew Cotter on the BBC, didn't know who it was. Apparently, it was a gymnast.
But they'll say, oh, it's because it's about the Olympic spirit and all that. I'm like, mate, it's your opening ceremony. Show us what France has to offer. If I'm watching Tokyo, I want to see, like, stuff that's set in Japan. If I'm watching, you know, Beijing, I want to see. Why are you showing us Lady Gaga, who's an American, and Celine Dion?
Zinedine Zidane comes out again, and it's like, oh, there we go, and he hands it over to Rafael Nadal. I'm like, what? They ran out of French people already?
Yeah, they did. They ran out of French people real quick. Like, yeah, I wasn't a fan. I thought it was absolutely shite. But I am looking forward to the Olympics. I do like the Olympics. So I'm looking. Well, it started now, but I will be watching. But yeah.
I wonder if we have any French listeners left.
No, because they won't listen to anything in English.
You know what? Apparently, from what I've heard, the French people really loved it.
Did they?
Yeah, like French Twitter was actually bang up for it, apparently.
Yeah, of course they would. It was very French. If I say anything, it was very French. The best thing they could have done to present themselves to the rest of the world was to have that full-on strike they were talking about and just film that, because that's, you know, that is their contribution to... That is their contribution to the modern world at the moment, showing us how to strike. I respect them for that. I respect them for their industrial
and that is us being genuine about that.
Oh,
we
yeah.
Love to strike.
Oh, yeah. I'm a unionist through and through.
Solidarity to our French brothers and sisters.
I respect them for that. That's what they should have done. Whatever that shite was a waste of time.
All I can say is imagine with a piano on fire. I mean, come on. Yeah. So bizarre. Anyway... This is the what's next section. Oh yes, Amy. Yes. What are you doing other than watching the Olympics?
So I think I've got my I have a meeting every fortnight with Gemma. I've got my catch up with Gemma on Tuesday. I think I'm nearly at like the build part for my marathon training. So yeah, so this is for the Macon Marathon in November. So I think soon we'll be going into soon we'll be going into building, which is quite weird because obviously I've stripped my training right back. I'm only doing like 17 miles a week at the moment, down from like, you know, I was going up to like 30. So I am interested in how that's going to go, what sort of sessions, things like that. So yeah, exciting, but not really much content for the podcast because I'm not going out and getting lost and all that sort of thing. So
you just have to tell us all of your like kilometre splits and your heart rates and your cadence. Just get into the data really, really heavily. Oh, yeah. That would be brilliant.
And then maybe I can do some sort of like inspirational story. Like, oh yeah, so I kind of did that a bit today, didn't I? So rather than bullshit, I'd be like, yeah, I never thought I could run up a hill, but there I was running up a hill and just, doing an 8-minute mile up a hill.
Sometimes one day you could run up a hill too.
Yeah, just
put your mind to it and believe in yourself.
Manifest it.
If you can be resilient, manifest all that ability. You don't need to train, you just need to believe in yourself.
Yeah. If you've enjoyed this bullshit, please visit runningisbs.com and see the show notes and links from this episode and the whole back catalogue, as well as links to our Patreon, merch store and social medias.
There was a joke in there for like 4 people, but we're not going to explain anymore. Bye.
Bye.
Have a little smell every now and then.